Hi, my name is Carl Pearson. I'm an attorney, and I'm going to do an important video, this one on the town attorney general. I've been practicing law through a sole proprietorship law firm, which means that it's owned by me alone. And I'm preparing this video in the calm of early morning, no sirens and no telephone calls, on April 9, 2020, with more than 435,000 confirmed coronavirus cases and 14,800 deaths in the U.S. as of April 8th. In this video, I'm going to discuss the fourth reform, which I dropped to make it easier, I had hoped, to obtain the first three reforms. This fourth reform is to have a town attorney general, which would help the town create prosperity for its residents and small businesses. It is a reform that could easily be adopted in even the largest cities, so it's not one of the three reforms for a single zip code area. I'm 83 years old, and to protect my life, I'm in fairly rigid self-imposed quarantine with no coronavirus symptoms and no tests, and I'm in my 25th day of self-imposed quarantine. And I've watched my law practice precipitously decline starting more than 2 months ago because of the coronavirus, followed by the temporary cessation of new lawsuits in New York State. To start off, the New York Attorney General is the most powerful elected official in the United States. As I explained when running for that particular elective office 4 times in past years. And in 2010, I came in third for this most powerful elective office in the U.S. and perhaps the world, starting with the election of Eliot Spitzer in 1998. At the time when I ran for New York Attorney General, I created a list of the 14 reasons why, in my opinion, this is the most powerful elective office in the U.S. The New York Attorney General, as an elected official, cannot be fired. He or she does not need funds from the New York State Legislature because the Attorney General sues for law violations and collects hundreds of millions of dollars each year in settlements and judgment recoveries, which for the most part can be made available to pursue more lawsuits, which we now see, years later, includes lawsuits by the New York Attorney General against the President and his interests and his bank. Also, the New York Attorney General has jurisdiction over New York real estate co-ops and condos, stock market activities, all activities of the nonprofit and religious organizations acting in New York State, violations of the state antitrust laws and the Martin Act regulating the securities market, just to name some of the areas regulated by the New York Attorney General. Yes, she is the most powerful elected official in the U.S., and the main reason President Trump now claims that his permanent residence is in Florida instead of New York. No other state has so great a concentration of regulatory power, and in the 7 states where the Attorney General is appointed, the governor or legislature is the power, not the Attorney General, who can be fired. In 2007, the 50 states had a total of 3,142 counties and county equivalents, and 36,011 other local municipal governments, that is, hamlets, towns, villages, burgs, and cities, or an average of 700 per state. The 700 different local governments in this average state have interests which conflict with one another, and the state attorney general may go one way when a specific local government needs the other direction. Take fracking, for example. Some communities may want the jobs, but others may see an unnecessary risk to their water supply or their farmland crops. Also, the Attorney General may decide not to sue someone that is only hurting residents or businesses in several of the 700 local governments. The local government need the local governments need an attorney general armed with as many powers as possible to protect his or her town from being injured for the better good of the entire state, it would be said. I drafted the powers that I believed could be granted by a ballot initiative to a town attorney general in New York City, and they are: number 10, the New York City AG shall have the power to seek the appointment of a special prosecutor under Section 701 of the New York County Law, or anywhere within New York State or in any other state, country, or jurisdiction. 11. The New York City Attorney General shall have the same power and authority to enforce civil law within New York City as the New York State Attorney General has within New York State, and to conduct investigations and to issue subpoenas in pursuance thereto. 12. No New York City employee, past or present, shall have the right to avoid testifying during any investigation based on any prior agreements not to disclose or testify with any officials or agencies of the New York City or other governmental agency. The New York City Attorney General has the power to maintain secrecy and confidentiality of testimony or other disclosures where appropriate. 13. The New York City Attorney General shall have the power to promulgate policy, rules, and procedures, and to hire and fire clerical and other employees, attorneys, accountants, paralegals, experts, consultants, and others in performance of the New York City Attorney General's duties. And finally, 14. This law shall be construed liberally to enable the New York City Attorney General to function for New York City with the same authority and power, to the extent authorized by law, as the New York State Attorney General functions for all of New York State. So that's the end of my powers that I put in a petition for New York City. I was appointed as a volunteer, meaning not paid, town attorney general by the mayor of a Midwest town in which the largest employer closed its doors and stopped paying real estate taxes for the idle plant, causing a collapse of the local economy. No other town in that state had any of these problems. To try to sell my idea, which came before my 3 reforms for a zip code, I created a website, townattorneygeneral.com. That's all run together, townattorneygeneral.com. And then hired an off-off-Broadway theater in Times Square, New York, to put on a one-man show with me dressed in exact costume as the Solicitor General of the United States addresses, and prepared to answer any legal questions the audience might ask of me to demonstrate how much their respective communities could use a town attorney general. When I saw that only 5 or 6 tickets had been sold, I canceled the show, in spite of the perceived theatrical tradition that if there are more in the audience than in the cast, the show goes on. And then tried to put it on in local venues before mayors and local legislatures, but got only 3 to 4 meetings with a mayor, town manager, or local legislature to explain my concept. A picture of me in my official-looking Solicitor General costume can be seen at my website address, which I provide in the description for this video. I also give the website address for a copy of my petition for a ballot initiative to create a town attorney general for New York City, as well as the address for my explanation of the petitioning process in New York City. I hope that some viewers will help me in implementing this town attorney general reform, but more importantly, the 3 zip code reforms discussed in my last 3 videos. I'm not seeking any compensation for my help. These reforms are too important for having personal compensation involved. Well, I've said what I plan to say, and I'll say so long until my next video.